The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Subarai Productions.
Choushinsei Flashman! Flashman! Choushinsei Flashman!
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tokucast Reviews, episode number 180. Marcus and Jacob here to review and discuss Choushinsei Flashman. Choushinsei, thank you. I don't think I ever got it right throughout the entire time I was watching this show.
Let's start we always do.
With the opening, it's okay.
I like this opening a lot.
Oh, okay.
In all honesty. That flash, dash, da, 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 da. I just thought that part makes the opening for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this one was okay. Not crazy about it, but it's not bad.
I don't know why it got me hyped. It just did.
Just one of those.
Before we get into the main bulk of this, I do want to talk about the suits.
Okay.
I
wanted to talk about them too.
Absolutely love these.
I like them too.
Yeah.
I like these suits as well.
They're clean. There's a clear, astronaut theme with them, especially on the helmets. Shut goggle. And yeah, something about them is just especially I think the black and the white together really makes the color of the suits.
There's just enough black and white on there to really make the color, because it's mostly color on these, over 90% of it, but there's just enough to offset it.
I think that's the thing, sort of what's missing about the Boom Boonger suits, and the thing that 119 fixed. Those suits need black, and I think this show really proves that too much of one color can really throw off the balance of the entire thing. But man, do the Flashman suits look good. They're really clean. And unfortunately, they have the giant Show Us sticker on their chest.
Yeah.
Which,
well, what can you do?
I'll never be a fan of that. If they can remove it and put an actual symbol that they have on their belt in there. But other than that, man, do I love these suits.
Mm-hmm.
Flash. Yeah, the show.
So where do you want to start?
This one has an actual plot. So they were children taken from Earth at a young age by some alien hunters.
Abducted as infants.
Yes. Or in Red's case, a toddler, because he was 3. He was the oldest when they took him.
Mm.
And they were sent out to the Flash system, abducted and taken there, and raised by the people on...
Well, it's like they were abducted and taken that way. The ship crashed and landed there, and the residents of the Flash system raised them, each on their own individual, moons in the Flash system.
Yep.
And each moon had its own particular, discipline or, magic set of abilities that each one was trained in.
Climbing, super strength, floating, extreme acrobatics. Red did a thing. They didn't really go in for him. It was just basic sword training.
It was just you are the protagonist of a shonen show.
Yeah, that's really... They didn't really give him
they gave him a sword.
They did not give him any special abilities. And
they gave him plot relevance.
Yeah, him and Yellow are basically the plot of this show.
I think Green gets a little bit more out of them.
Green does get his own thing. Blue and Pink.
Yeah. They don't really get much in terms of plot. Pink never really has anything to do unless Yellow is involved.
Yeah, which is sad.
Bit of a Tokuger situation there. And Blue, sadly, because I think Blue has some really good acting moments.
Yeah,
but he doesn't really get anything as far as plot goes.
He's treated as the youngest.
Yes.
And it's sort of he holds... I think they gave Red a little bit of a personality to his anger, because he remembers probably the most out of everybody. But Blue is just he gets that sympathy.
I feel like Green was the most angry of them all.
I think it's sort of got split between the Red and Green more than anybody.
I feel like Red was more headstrong. Green was definitely... Grrr.
Yeah.
Just anger.
Although
rage is my strength.
Green ended up having that whole multi-episode span with the Ghost Girl.
Yeah.
Blue, I can't really end up saying much about Boone. It's they end up having him have that whole episode with one of the alien hunters. late in the series after Cowler shows up. Well, far after Cowler, because it's like literally the last couple episodes with Blue and that one alien and those kids. But something about it is just like they don't give him enough plot relevance. And I wish they gave Pink more. Man, do I wish they gave her more. Yellow gets so much in this show in comparison.
For things that like happen on later, she definitely gets the most in terms of the Flashmen's main mission and what they're ultimately trying to achieve, aside from save the world.
Yeah, stop mess and find family. That's pretty much their entire thing. They are Fast and Furious.
Family.
So much family. But yeah, I think we could talk more about the show as a whole because the villains end up taking a good portion of it.
Yeah.
My biggest thing that I had going into this, and this is so not a problem of the show itself, I think it's just a problem of what it comes after. Because this show started late. They were running behind on production and filming schedules, so Changeman lasted for a good 3 or 4 episodes more, which I think makes it the third longest out of everything after Kaku and Go Ranger, of course. But yeah, I think Changeman had a much more emotional core than this series.
So Changeman is also one of your favorites.
Yes.
This came after one of your favorites and before one of the most mediocre.
Yeah. Before Masked Man. But Flashman itself is I think the acting was fairly good. The story was good, especially with the villains with Mess. I think the beginning is actually quite strong as well. For the most part. The show really doesn't start kicking off until Cowler gets there.
I think this show is kind of weak for the first 2/3. And then for the last 15 episodes, I think it really picks up.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. And I think that's sort of why I kept comparing it to Changeman. And I don't like to do that when it comes to shows like this. But it's the show sort of hit the same beats, but Flashman hit them late. In compared to Changeman, you could see Ahamis coming in Changeman and Cowler coming in Flashman as sort of doing the same thing where they end up changing the direction of the show. But a lot of the things that Cowler does in this show in particular doesn't feel like they were fleshed out enough when they start happening. Him wanting to backstab everybody, I feel like that could have came a lot earlier.
Yeah. Okay.
When Ahamis did it in Changeman, she hated everybody immediately. And she had no problem showing that. She hated Galuk. She hated everyone.
Yeah, because Cowler and his crew are mercenaries.
Yeah.
They are essentially hired on to assist Mess with defeating Flashman. And then much later on in the show, it is revealed that Cowler has his own motivations. He wants to become the strongest being in the universe. Which is also revealed around that same time, in the same episode, that is Radeus, the leader of Mess. That is also his goal.
Yeah.
That he has been, reconstituting and been rebuilding himself for, goodness knows how many years and decades, centuries maybe.
Using
many doctors.
Yeah. Which is where Dr. Lee Cleflin comes in. The show gets so much better at the end. I don't mind it when they end up having the first of the second mechs show up. Because this is the first time that any Sentai has ever had a secondary mech that they can use. They end up planting some seeds of a mystery. It's this person on this other planet, when we fought him and the villain at the time, he was becoming sort of a side character for a couple episodes. There is a weakness of the people of the Flash system that will, bring bad tidings to you. And he dies before he could tell them. So it picks up around there, if only because there's things are actually really starting happening in the background. This is where Pink also ends up losing all motivation in this show and has no story. So
yeah, I mean, I kind of feel that way about a lot of the characters. Green gets the one more episode with Sumire, the girl who we later find out is a ghost in that same episode. What's the Red Ranger's name again?
Jean.
So Jean takes on the role of Big Brother by this point.
Yeah.
And he is really there to comfort the other Rangers when they're feeling low and try and help them through whatever struggles they might be going through. He has a really good scene with Sada in one of her focus episodes. The one with where she's like becoming more accustomed to life on Earth and thinking about falling in love and stuff like that.
Oh, that episode was so good. They were just like, what if we did all stunts? And I'm just like, you know what? I can approve of that. With her relationship with all their relationship with Dr. Tokimura and his family. With the time machine of them going back to the first Tokyo Olympics. Speaking of which, if you're watching the Olympics right now, what is your favorite event that has happened or is coming up? I really liked how that character and that family kept showing up throughout the show. Yeah. Because they were pretty, integral to all of the Flash movies.
As we later find out at the end, yes.
Yeah, it's just...
Do we want to get into that now, or...
we can wait a second, because we haven't really talked about Dinah Pink.
Yes. La Neffel.
Yes.
Is played by same actress who played Dinah Pink, and she's fantastic in this. Yeah. I think she's great.
I think this is the first time that a previous Sentai actor, like Senshi actor, comes back and plays a villain. And I really like that for her. She, she was good in this. And this is the first time that we get Lewanda. The first time that we get Yutaka Hirose as a main villain, who you will see every season for the next 10 years in some capacity.
Speaking of which, we should also mention Calder, played by Joji Nakata.
Who is...
Professor Bias.
When he ends up getting his helmet blown off, I don't know what happened to me. I was like, oh. Okay, if he would have told me to do something, I would have just done it.
He's a handsome man.
He is a very handsome man in this show. I was like, oh, okay, this is a thing for me now. And of course, Dr. Ashida ends up being his right hand man guardian.
Go ahead. I need to ask you something about Wanda, though. You're a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yes.
Is there such a thing as a wig that's too big?
Yes.
Is this an example of that?
Yes. And the reason I say that is because a lot of these wigs, Trixie Mattel has talked about it before. She stacked like 7 wigs on top of each other and put it on her head and gave her a migraine.
Jeez.
And the fact that the wig kept moving.
It's a lot of weight coming down in your neck.
Yeah, and it's just like, looking at this, I do not like Lewanda's wig at all. But he's supposed to be a monster, so it sort of makes sense.
True enough, but for as silly as some of these characters can look, my God, did the actors give it 100%.
Yeah,
everyone in this show is committed, and just like they are dialed in. Lawanda has a great moment in his final episode where he is pleading with Dr. Keflin, thank you. Everyone's names, so many names in the show. I'm just like, wait, what words are where? My dyslexic ass is not appreciating this. But Dr. Keflin. Jiminy Christmas, I'm never going to get it right. But where Wanda is pleading with him, please use me, please do what you must, use me as you will, so that it will help Rhaeus. Do whatever you want. And then his final fight with Jean is great. There is a really, I think probably my favorite shot of this whole show happens during that fight, where they're running through the field.
Yeah,
where they're running through the field, and it's like a low handheld shot, and they are just like running and slashing at each other, and the cameraman is running to follow them, but because they're in a field with like it's like a wheat kind of field with like tall grass in it, and just like seeing the tall blades of grass just like hit and whip past the camera.
It's so cool.
It gives you such a good sense of movement.
Yeah.
It's such a good shot. I loved it.
That stood out to me as well.
Yeah.
Once the comparison got made. Because of Change Dragon and Booba. And it was so unfair to this show. And I tried not to do it. But it kept happening in the back of my mind like, oh, I've seen this. And it was done better. And I think
are you comparing Wanda to Booba in this situation?
Sort of, not so much in terms of character strength, because
I'm talking in terms of a story.
No, and the only reason I end up saying that is because of the way that Changeman works with its overall villain factions and how none of them really want to be there. In this case, it's like, oh, everything for Ladeus, or
I'm thinking this should be our next re-review.
Changeman?
Yeah, because I haven't seen it yet.
I am up for that. Yes. Okay, we're doing that now. But yeah, it's just like nobody in Changeman wanted to be there, but in this case with Lee Kaplan,
I've heard you and Matt talk, at length about it, of course.
It's so good. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm just looking at it like, I feel like it's just missing a little bit of weight to it. Where the one in Changeman has so much emotional weight to it.
I was gonna say with Change Dragon and Booba, was there a lot of Was there a past rivalry that had?
No, it was more on the side of Booba and his story.
Okay,
you need to. Yes, just
it'll happen. It'll happen.
Just Changeman in general, but it changed my life. But yeah, it's just like in this one, Red has too many enemies and it doesn't seem like anybody else does.
He doesn't have a specific rivalry.
Yeah.
There is no specific rivalry with him and Wanda that builds up throughout the show. It's really just this is who he happens to be fighting as Wanda is drawing to his end.
Yeah. And
with the other ones, because the villains, they feel so tight-knit in the show, because you have Radeus at the top, you have the Doctor, and then you have Wanda and Nephil, the two Woken Kit.
Speaking of which, just a real quick. Woke, some reason, gorgeous. I think she is so pretty. And I was just like, I saw her face and I was like, that's it. That's the moment.
Is Woke the wolf?
Yes.
One? Yeah.
She shows up a lot in future shows as well. Her actress does. Yeah, something about her that's like, she is gorgeous. Gorgiosity. Kilt was there too. That was mean.
You're not wrong. That's kind of how they both are, but they are inseparable. And then at the end, when Woke sacrifices herself to give Kit that burst of energy after she's been turned into a full monster, is a good scene.
Yeah,
I think that scene is done well. And again, I liked Nephil a lot. Nephil also gets some. She gets some good costume changes throughout.
She becomes a furry.
Well, she also becomes a schoolgirl and a woman wearing fashionable clothes. Because I like that they gave her a chance to do even though she's a villain, they kept the pink costume, the pink trope of costume changes for her.
I sort of can't help but stan.
Speaking of stan, if there is one thing in this world that I stan, it's villains who emotionally bang on keyboards. I love this. It's silly. It's dramatic. I love it. Whether you're talking Davy Jones, whether you're talking the Phantom of the Opera, whether it's the Doctor, whether it's Cowler also gets one later in the show. I love it when a villain is just smashing some keys, dramatically smashing keys to make a point and do something that is evil. I do like fun.
How they make
I love it.
The monsters in this with the piano, using that as a DNA splicer more or less.
I also love how there's not really any keys on it.
No.
It's just a couple sheets of plexiglass or something.
With slats.
With slots, and he's just just slamming his fingers on the keys, and it's must do evil, must do evil. I love it.
This is one of those ones where, of course, just a random monster or something that ends up making the thing big.
Yes.
I'm trying to see because I don't remember this thing dying.
I don't know that it did.
Oh, well, it dies, I guess, at the very end when they end up destroying the ship, but it's just sort of weird how it has...
It does not get an on-screen death. You don't see them, cut it with their sword.
No. It does get absorbed into a monster at some point, though. Which is, pretty cool. It's how they first end up getting Titan Boy and Flash Titan.
I like its look, though.
Yeah,
I like that it's just an eldritch horror jellyfish monster that just flies in and zaps the monster, and whoosh, you're reconstituted as a kaiju.
Basically, exactly what they're doing in Boom Boonger, so it's a fun time. Yeah, this, another one of those. Man, it's just
What's on your mind?
It's just the fact that what it came after. And it makes it on its own, the show is fine, if not a bit late with how it ends up getting to a lot of the things that it wants to do. But Changeman had that weight to it. And I'm just looking at it like...
Judge it by what it is.
I know. But it's such a long-running series. I mean, obviously you're going to have some comparisons to other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those things where like, oh, this came after that? Also, everything is aliens.
Everything is aliens.
Until next season. When Tube...
God of... Damn it.
Tube!
And aura power. But back to this.
Yeah.
There comes a point in the show where they just completely drop comedy in those last 15 episodes.
Yeah.
Where it just goes like full dramatic storytelling, and I think that's where the show really starts to turn around.
Although it does have one of my favorite comedic moments.
Is it the tennis match?
Yes!
Freaking hell, that was amazing.
That was
the funniest thing.
Pink's actress. I think pretty much everybody at this time was like sort of part of the Japan Action Club. Or JAE, with Japan Action Enterprises.
Sounds fun.
And yeah, that tennis match, when they had Pink kicking the tennis balls and actually kicking them, that was wild. I flipped out a little bit. That's my favorite Pink episode.
The final bit, though, is what really got me, where it's like one of them is on the ground and like tennis balls are like stuck in his eye sockets.
Blue.
One of them has blue. One of them has tennis balls stuck in his mouth.
Red and green.
Yeah. And
actually, no. Green has a shoe stuck in his mouth.
Yeah, because he was on Yellow's team.
Yeah,
Pink shoe red was the ref.
Yeah, Pink shoe flew
off because he was kicking tennis balls so hard. And just some great physical comedy of Blue just wrenching the tennis balls from his eyes, and his eyes are all black around the edge, and he's just like, ow, I'm in pain. And then they're like arguing later, and there was an amazing moment where Blue is like sitting in between the two of them as they're arguing, and the argument gets to such a point that he just stands up with his teacup and just like swiftly ducks around to the other side of the table with the guys. And he's like, nope! I will save my tea!
He said,
That was amazing.
That episode was, honestly, like, amongst everything that has happened, I think that honestly might end up being my favorite episode of the show.
Oh, okay.
It's so fun. It stood out to me, too, because I really binge this. It's really easy to binge a lot of these shows. So
this one has shorter episodes.
Yeah, because it's after Dynamite and before Mega Ranger. So, but yeah, it's just, man, is it easy to binge, and it's fun. It's a fun watch. Sarah's episode where she wants for love and everything, that's where she more or less ends up finding out, because Kyler ends up kidnapping her, that Tokimura, the time traveler,
is the father of one of them.
Yeah,
one of the five of them,
and then we later find out that it's Sarah's.
We find out it's Sarah, but we find out in like the second to last episode, and
the anti-Flash phenomenon.
Yeah, and we never find out. But by that I mean like they never have a moment of like face to face, because like Ultra 7, which we recently reviewed, this show has like a countdown that comes at the end of the show.
Yeah,
where. Because they were, raised in Flash system, because of the way that, I guess like different space assimilated their DNA, reconstituted their physiology. The Earth is like rejecting them. It's like reverse Superman, where the Yellow Sun gives him his power. And now it's like the Earth is rejecting them, so they have 20 days to get off the planet, or their bodies will just deteriorate and die.
Yeah.
And
it's so cool
how it adds this ticking clock element over the edge of it. Yeah,
I love how they end up showing like all the different things, like how the Earth is rejecting. Like at first they can't touch people, and then the plants start fighting back against them. But then they get like, those go away. But then other things end up getting worse. Like they can't drink water. The sunlight starts to hurt them.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
There is a melancholy.
Yeah.
To Flashman, particularly the third act of the show.
Yeah.
That I don't know that any other Sentai has.
No.
I don't think it does. I mean, we've had, plenty of dramatic finales. We've had plenty of dramatic... King Odor definitely comes to mind. But King Odor ends on such a triumphant note.
Yeah, here
and
it's
then
just
in this one, it's like...
Oh, we won.
No one... I mean, you think about the way Gokaiger ends, where our heroes are off into space once again because they're space pirates. That's what they do. We've defeated the bad guys. There's plenty more loot and treasure to plunder out in the vast reaches of the cosmos. off we go sailing as, Earth waves goodbye as our heroes are victorious. And then in this one, there's no goodbye. There's no praise. There's no victory celebration.
It's real bittersweet.
It is literally, you are seconds away from death. Our robot helper, Mag, shows up in the ship, teleports you on, zips you off through the atmosphere.
Back to the Flash system.
And back to the Flash system while they are in cryosleep.
Yeah.
And Dr. Tokimura and his family, his wife and his other 2 daughters,
are just on a cliff waving
just
goodbye.
tearfully bidding them goodbye because they never got to say
hello to their daughter.
They never got to because they met Sarah before at plenty of times throughout the show, but
at first they thought it was a boy.
Yep.
And then it's like something happens to Jim where he gets not Jim, Die
gets turned into a kid, and the wife agrees to play the role of his mother just to try and help level the situation.
And then she is like,
it was a good episode.
Because she lost her memory of the whole situation. Dr. Tokimura, his memory got altered.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't know that they had another child that she didn't think they did. He thought it was a boy. Turned out it was a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns out it was Sarah at the end of the show.
Turns out it was Sarah because she finds an old house. There's an old photo in there.
Their old house.
Yeah, their old house. She finds the photo of the 2 of them and her when she's an infant.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no goodbye. There is no catharsis. It's just you won. You beat mess. You saved the universe. Congratulations. But you don't get the congratulations from anyone.
Yeah.
You don't really get a happy ending. It's just off to the Flash system with you. You can't stay here.
And I think that's the one thing.
Die.
Really off of any other show, except maybe Live Man, because Live Man didn't really end it. It just ended up with them watching a clip show. But it's just man, is this a bittersweet ending? It's there's no joy.
I didn't even go so far as to say it's just kind of a downer.
Yeah, it's there's no joy here.
It'd been sweet. We beat the bad sweet. We beat the bad guys, but at what cost? There's a heavy price to pay for this one. There's
a legit lack of joy at the end of this. I'm like, oh man, I'm sort of looking forward to Exceed.
But in a way, kind of here for it.
Yeah,
I think it fits.
It works. It definitely does. But yeah, I'm looking at this I'm actually looking forward to Exceed right now because man, do I need a lift.
Anything else?
No, the show is good. It's just I know me. And I know my favorite.
Mm.
And my favorite was legitimately the one before this. And it's the same writer. It's the same writer for pretty much everything up until Jetman. So.
And for me, the show, it's then you get to the 3rd act and it's like, oh, this is pretty good.
Yeah. So it's definitely a good show and I definitely suggest watching it. I don't suggest watching it in order. I think you should watch this before Changeman. It also doesn't help that Changeman has changed Phoenix and she could do no wrong. So,
but anyway, our next review, as he mentioned earlier, our next review will be Kamen Rider G.
Yeah.
At the time of recording this, it'll be the Cougar review.
Yeah.
Then Kamen Rider G. Then Exceed Draft. And so look forward to that.
Yeah. Don't forget to join us all the things. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching.